You ever just, I don't know, get more than you bargained for? Like, you get into something expecting one thing and you get another. Like, you just really get taken for a ride. That kind of happened to me. Thought I'd have a slam dunk to talk about something people remember and crack jokes at the expense of gamers. How wrong, how f***ing wrong I was, man. You don't leave the tester the same way you came in. I needed some time to process what I watched, and I guess talking about it is better than stewing in it. Let's bite this bullet together. Where do we even start with this thing? So, for those of us lucky enough to live under the warm blanket of ignorance like swaddled babies, The Tester is a reality TV show created by Sony's America branch in 2010 in order to take average people and have them compete for the chance to become one of the most sought-after positions in all of game design. The game tester. Now, let's not talk about the fact that game testing is essentially the janitor work of the game design industry in terms of both prestige and responsibility, and instead focus on the fact that you get to play video games all day for cash!
Hey guys, finished testing that game yet? I've got another one I need designed.
We just finished level 3 and need to tighten up the graphics a little bit.
Great.
Hey, I can't believe we got jobs doing this.
I know, and my mom said I would never get anywhere with these games.
So, yeah, obviously this was picked because you can't pluck random people off the street and expect them to be able to create a bump map or program a hitbox, so just give them the job that requires them to do the least amount of stuff possible. But that doesn't matter, because the prospect in and of itself was enough to get gamers the world over salivating and sending in applications to get on the show. 2 seasons of success later, we would bear witness to the most infamous season of the show in 2012, as The Tester Season 3 defiled Sony's YouTube channel and PlayStation streaming service so you could finally justify the ludicrous price tag of the PS3 at launch. What made this season special was the fact that the people would get to vote in a competitor from thousands of applicants, and from that the cream rises to the top and we got Aaron Hansen, better known as Egoraptor. He ended up being the biggest draw for the season, seeing as his status as an internet celebrity was ballooning out of control by this point, and seeing him get a shot on an official PlayStation platform got people excited. And sadly, that's almost all the preseason ska we gotta get into before the horror show really begins. Today I'll talk about the first 2 episodes, but if you guys end up liking this one enough, I'll talk about the whole season. So, please dislike this video, leave a big thumbs down, and tell me how much you don't want to see it. Please, I don't know if I can do this to myself. Think of my health! Straight off into the first episode, here we get introduced to the traveling circus they brought in to compete on this show. By the way, don't expect to learn anyone's name, since they only ever refer to them by their PlayStation account names. Kinda like how you nickname Kettle. Jay Tight, the only person in the car who seems to like the fact that he's there. Christy Pride, a gamer who's not like most girls. 'Cause she's an asshole.
The other competitors should watch out because I don't really give a about anybody else here. And when I want something, I usually get it.
Sky Diddy, who wants this job more than anything, but runs like this, so maybe put a lid on those ambitions, my man. Achilles Might, who looks like he's ready to dunk half these dweebs at a moment's notice. Reality Pales, who could have admitted to being the Zodiac Killer on footage, and I'd still say he was boring. Egoraptor, who, fun fact, came on this show in the first place in order to make as much of a farce of it as he possibly could. Suskaiden, who, as someone who's seen the whole season, knows that this is the equivalent of All Quiet on the Northern Front. Horrible, horrible things are going to happen to this girl. Bern Nibelheim, who at the first sight of genuine enthusiasm sees red.
I look at Skyden, and she was making an ass out of herself. I'm sorry, I thought that we all had to be over a certain age to be on the show.
Asuka, who, given the time frame that this was made in, most likely named themselves after the Evangelion character, and therefore is not allowed human rights. Kawaje Monster, who has an unexplained black eye for the first couple of episodes, which is concerning. Ashi-chan, who doesn't get a highlight in this episode, so f*** him. And Ninjanomics, who... Imagine being cast in a reality show and getting the role of the diddler.
And it was done. The ambiance is crazy. Not just the ambiance per se, but dude, the shorties that came to this show, you got your little fiery redhead, little pale gothic chick always sets it off. Of course, Asians are at the top of my boat. Y'all jelly, and you want this too.
So after introductions, the team gets introduced to our host Meredith and the rules of the game. Each week our gamers will have to compete in a challenge, either in teams or solo, and whoever wins gets immunity from elimination, and one person gets sent packing to the gulag they make PlayStation Move games at. The winner gets to become a game tester at an unannounced AAA game at Santa Monica Studios. They really want you to remember that this is a AAA game experience, and it's enough to make my nose bleed. Oh, by the way, do you want to know what AAA game this ended up being? God of War Ascension. You know, the very much budget God of War title that ended up being less remembered than the PSP games? Yeah, that one. Get hyped, boys and girls! So until then, they get to lounge in this quote-unquote gamer's paradise, filled with the latest and greatest PlayStation experiences. Now, keep in mind that that's 2012's best experiences, and it was nearing the end of the PlayStation's life cycle with the PS4 on the horizon, so offerings were a little slim, but they didn't skimp out on the gamer's paradise. We got Killzone 3, aw yeah! Resistance 3, heck yeah! The Twisted Metal reboot, oh! Ratchet & Clank All for One, huh? Mod Nation Racers, wait, and the PlayStation Vita! Fuck off! Here we get to see everyone mingle and have their genuine reactions to the privilege of holding a piece of tech that maybe like 5 people were excited for, and 3 of them worked for Sony. This is where we learn that GigaChat Achilles has served 8 years in the Air Force, so Skyden gets excited about living out a dream and everyone hates her for that. Oh, and you can't forget the casual racism.
Dominicana 100%.
Why you're loud.
Yes.
Soon comes challenge time, and we're taken to meet our hosts. Brett Goke, Adrian Curry, and the rotating seat currently being held by John Height of Santa Monica Studio. For this challenge, everyone's got to stick their head in a box full of cockroaches as they conduct an interview, because their future job will have a lot of bugs, you see? I remember playtesting games for my friend and how hissing cockroaches would pour out of the screen if I entered a null input. Okay, so obviously this challenge is stupid and has nothing to do with game testing, but the fact that they're questioning their credentials at all instantly makes this one of the only challenges in the whole show that in any way prepares them for the job. Sky Diddy's the only one speaking sense here, so you know things are bad.
This the tester? Like, what does this got to do with games, man? Like, did I get in the wrong van and on the wrong show? This cannot be the first challenge.
Not only are they fighting for immunity from elimination, but they also get their very own PlayStation Vita!
That's a beast of a machine. It feels great, it's got 2 analog sticks, it's arguably the most powerful handheld out there. I gotta win it.
Ashi-chan goes first, and John immediately mispronounces her name as Ashikan.
So tell me, Ashikan, what's your current job?
But before she can even finish her sentence, they already throw her out with the bathwater. Ninjanomics believes his biggest asset is level design because he has an eye for where to hide. Just gonna leave that one where it lies, and he collects Yu-Gi-Oh cards, so I've misplaced the mantle of GigaChat on Achilles and will place it onto Ninja. Then the judges get bananas inappropriate and ask if he still lives with his mom after hearing he plays Yu-Gi-Oh!
Do you live with your ma?
Yes, I do live with my mom.
This is discrimination! Sky Diddy enters the box and manages to stay cool under pressure.
I want to work for PlayStation because I have an imaginary brain.
Well, they create a whole new planet in my head. I was scared, but I was Beastmaster.
Well,
J-Tite exits the box looking like he's been in a dunk tank. Kawaja talks about the fact that she once killed a man with a fart. All good thus far. Before we get to Egoraptor, and thanks to him recounting his experience, we can actually see some of the reality TV start to seep in. Unrelated clips were patched together to make him seem like an egomaniac, and this was in direct response to the people behind the show disapproving of his antics, ruining shots, and going off script all the time. So as punishment, they put him through the ringer. They question at one point if he even owns a PS3, predicated on the knowledge that his PlayStation account only had 7 trophies on it. Except for the fact that PlayStation got the wrong account due to Aaron's PlayStation account not being called Egoraptor. So some random dude's gamer cred was called into question for the whole world to see. Keep in mind that the only problem with drilling Aaron so hard is the fact that the marketing for the show was entirely centered around Egoraptor competing, and shockingly, fans didn't react well to seeing their favorite contestant be chewed out just for being popular, when you know it's the popularity that got him there in the first place. So after everyone finished their interviews, it's time for the all-important elimination round. Reality Pales ends up winning the first game, seeing as he's able to name studio heads with a savant bordering on serial killer-like accuracy.
Gorilla Studio.
Killzone.
Lightbox.
They are a new studio under Dylan Job, and they are working on Starhawk.
Q Games.
That's under Dylan Cuthbert, and they make all the Pixel Junk games.
Now he may hold on to the vaunted PlayStation Vita, and with it a key to every woman's bedroom in the world. In the bottom, however, are Egoraptor, who, like we discussed, was demonized for wanting to bring viewers to the show, despite that being the only reason he was brought into the show in the first place, Ashi-chan for going first and the judges not remembering her by the end, which, yeah, that's the whole thing. She went first! And Kawaja Monster, as it turns out, cursing and making your interview all about passing gas are not a good way to conduct business. In the end, though, Ashi-chan is the first to go, and just as quickly as she entered our lives, she left it. Now, let this be a lesson to anybody watching. If you're ever told to put yourself out there if you want to get a job, know that this is a dog whistle meant to weed out the shiny, dumb, stupid ones who are dumb enough to present themselves to judges like a flank steak to hounds. But wait! Their crosshairs soon turn to Egoraptor as they continue to call him out for not taking the competition seriously. But instead of kicking him to the curb because, Jesus, imagine booting the fan contestant in the first episode, they let him stay, on the condition he sleeps on the couch like a drunk uncle. Oh, and that wasn't a turn of phrase. No, they literally had him set up on the couch and not allowed to sleep in his own bed. This episode has such a weird atmosphere to it. At first, it seems like it's just gonna be a show about gamers in a house together doing silly stuff to get a job. It's not as apparent as in the next episode, but this show takes a turn. There aren't many likable characters on the show. Egoraptor is tolerable, but he barely gets any screen time. Achilles seems nice, and J-Titan and Skyden are at least happy to be there, but everyone else is given so little time since they're an ensemble, and they use what little time they have to broadcast how much of a prick they are. Like I said, nothing about this show has anything to do with game testing. But if that's the case, why not make it something like Brand Ambassador? Which is more enticing? Fighting to be the face of PlayStation, or getting to open every door in the game on both sides to make sure the console doesn't set itself on fire? From a basic level, the show doesn't make any sense, but the sooner you come to terms with that fact, the sooner you can see all the other bad things present. And with that, the curtain closes on our first episode, only to immediately come up on the next one. This week's Waking Nightmare is all about Twisted Metal, the return of the classic Twisted Metal franchise. A game that made everyone say, wow, I sure wish the Twisted Metal franchise would come back. Before we get to any proper competing, however, we have to see the fallout from last episode, where, shockingly, getting preferential treatment doesn't endear Aaron to anybody.
I'm a little pissed, because where's our special treatment?
He defended himself.
Ego got a free pass. Because you've been voted in by all of our fans, you're getting away scot-free. He got to defend himself. You didn't. That's crap. I'm not a fan of this at all. I'm a little pissed about that.
We also see the beginnings of one of the dumbest parts of the entire show, people making alliances. Now, in most reality TV ever since Survivor, people have always made a big deal out of forming cliques to help each other out. It's a staple of the genre. However, I don't really think they thought through the fact that that literally doesn't matter at all. You're not always going to be on the same team as someone, and there's no voting, so being in an alliance with someone might as well extend to swapping friendship bracelets and nothing else. Here we see Skyden in reality Pale's form an alliance, as Pale sips on a glass of milk, because if he was any whiter, there's a chance he might not appear on film. After all the fun of the fair, we get to find out what torture our gaggle of mouth breathers is getting put through this week. For this challenge, the group will be split up into two teams led by Byrne in a walking lawsuit and are tasked with making a car, which they will then use to go through a shooting range. The winning team gets copies of Twisted Metal and immunity, so they get immunity, and the losing team is up for elimination. However, because the group is in an odd number thanks to Egoraptor not going home, that leaves Skyden on no one's team. The way they choose to go about fixing this problem could be charitably described as evil. They make each team put up a member to fight for the chance to not have Skyden on their team. And the response ranged from, this is the most embarrassing and soul-crushing experience of my entire life, to, for the love of fuck, don't let Skyden be on my team! Christy and Byrne are especially vocal about wanting Skyden to be pecked to death by vultures, so they manage to catch a break and get team with her anyway. This is where the real story of the season starts. You only know this for Egoraptor being on the show, but with him essentially being persona non grata for the rest of the season, Skyden really takes up the mantle of a tragic protagonist. There might be some backstage ska to explain why everyone hates her so much, but with this being reality TV and all, I'm sure if there was anything, they'd exploit it. As it stands, Skyden is a little energetic, and rightly so. She's fighting for her dream job, and everyone sees her as worse than ringworms for this. Now, she is pretty hostile to Christy afterwards, but that's only after they give her the treatment usually reserved for seal clubbers. We'll get back to the continuing saga of Skyden misery in a little bit. For now, we all have to dress up as clowns and go out in the hot sun to meet David Jaffe. The David Jaffe! That's when the rule is introduced that since Team Dollface has one extra member, they have to pick one to sit out, not do anything, and blow bubbles with their spit. Remember how they had Skyden put on their team and would rather see the death of a small animal than show the slightest bit of affection towards her? 1 + 1 = 2, and it stands to reason that they benched Skyden, right?
Nope.
They sent her out to do the most important part of the whole job, building the actual car. And who do they send to help her? Asuka, the girl who looks like the most intensive building project she's ever undertaken as a Gundam. Don't think Team Sweet Tooth isn't free from their own issues. They have Reality, who won the last challenge, and Achilles, who looks like this on their team. And who do they send to build their car? These two chuckle fucks. So it looks like Dollface is smoking Sweet Tooth and building the car, until eventually they can't find the place to put the last bolt and washer. And Skyden, because she's in a high-stress situation and bilingual, slips into speaking Spanish, her native language. And Asuka sees a chance to make this whole thing super uncomfortable.
I'm coming through, hold on.
Coño, es que todas las chiquitas están aquí adentro.
Calm down, speak English.
No, esta llave no es.
No hablo español! No hablo!
Asian chick, sniper, automatic.
So while Team Sweet Tooth manages to get through the shooting range that even at a 5-year-old's birthday party would be described as weak as fuck, Team Dollface never even so much as made it to the course. Afterwards, Asuka is really torn up about letting the team down and decides to better herself for next time. Nah, they just dogpile Skyden.
I give her an opportunity to prove herself. But then, like,
She wasn't communicating with her. It was.
They start tearing this girl asunder as she's literally sitting on the bed next to them, after Skyden was the only person to come and comfort Asuka after they lost. So it comes down to elimination time, and the real battle begins, as after being asked why their team lost, Asuka decides to devote herself full-time to the new racism thing.
Yes, we were hauling ass. We wanted to get done as quickly as possible because we knew we had a disadvantage. And then all of a sudden, Skyden, she's talking in Spanish. I don't understand Spanish. And when you're doing a team sport, you need to be able to speak.
Asuka's kind of pleading her case, and I really don't think she's doing a good job. She's kind of focusing on the Spanish
instructions.
Wow, you honestly think you would have won if she wouldn't have spoke a few words in Spanish? That's crazy.
David lays into Asuka for her nonsense while praising Skyden for having actual enthusiasm for the whole project before turning her crosshairs to Byrne, the leader of the team who put the two worst people into that position. After a while, Asuka ends up being the one getting the axe, and with that, our sordid saga comes to a close. For now. This episode is even worse somehow. The first one is like the shock of having cold water splashed all over you. It's crazy, it's a surprise, it's almost exciting from the sudden thrill. This episode is having to drive home while doused in it, letting it soak into the car seat and it gets mold everywhere. The first episode is meeting the cast, the second episode is realizing we're stuck with them. And there's an air of sleazy uncomfortability that permeates the whole thing. I cannot accurately show how awful they are to Skyden in this. You'd think it would improve, and you'll figure that out if I make a second one. Please don't make me make a second one, please! I'm just a little boy! Oh god, it was actually harder the second time around. First time watching it, I was just in awe of the fact that there was a show like this under my nose the whole time. I thought it was just a stupid show where gamers had to hold a live frog in their mouths or something. Lo and behold, it's a dive into the trenches of human cruelty with a gamer coat of paint. Second time around, you notice all the little problems, like the more subtle racism and the fact that the whole thing doesn't make any sense. I know it's reality TV and all, but I'm watching it as a show with characters, and half these characters are less appealing to me than dismemberment. Pouring out for Skyden, and remember to dislike, leave no comments, and tell me to go f*** myself.